Hello, fellow Omega3 Journey members. I hope you have seen your initial results of this amazing Omega3 replenishment. Just a reminder, it takes a good year for most people. If you start out below 2% Omega3, it's going to take you 2 years. But, that's what we have our test for. And so here's an example of a couple tests that I want to present to you really quickly. So this is an average test of typical American 55-year-old. And it is actually not the worst because this person has 3.2% omega-3, far below the required 8%. So where does that number 8% come from? That number is basically the key number when your inflammatory index, omega-6 to 3, in this case 18 to 1, goes below 3 to 1. And that's when, all disease, metabolic syndrome, etc. disappears. That's what all the studies show. He grew up on a ratio that's very close to 1 to 1. So now we're above 20 to 1. So this is about an average test. Many people are over 30 to 1. And this person, has an extra 0.5% or 1% more of omega-3, big deal. So at the same time, he has high arachidonic acid, and I'll explain that in a second. So basically, the test speaks for itself. There's a PDF attached to it, and you can talk about the details here, which are mental strengths, cell membrane fluidity, protection value. But the real clue here is your omega-3 is only 3.2%, and that's what makes up all of these numbers. So how does that exactly look like? Basically, the omega-6s are all in the positives. In this case, 30% above the recommended value. So arachidonic acid is your inflammatory omega-6 that basically responsible to create chronic inflammation. And it's supposed to be balanced out by EPA and DHA, which is not possible at 80% deficiency. And again, this is really not one of the worst results. This is actually a slightly better one. So you can see all positive omega-6 and all negative omega-3. So this is a very typical result. So I have this little basic write-up that I do for the patient that I kind of copy and paste because most tests will look like that. So basically, standard reply, your test result attached below indicates a significant deficiency of 20 to 1. Then basically the goal is 4 to 1. That's what our tests show. And then, the key findings are omega-3 is about 80% deficient in this case. Many people are over 90%. And, that index of 3.2 in this case, most of them are around 2, 2.5, are far from the desired 8%. Then arachidonic acid is usually very high, and that is this value here. And many people now are in the red. However, I have seen recently a lot of people being autoimmune in the below 6% value. Yeah, and that's basically all there's to it. You can get into the nitpick details, which are your DGLA is a precursor of the arachidonic acid, and if it's in the positive, it's trying to downregulate the inflammation, which in this case is not very successful. Okay, bottom line again, these are all positive and these are all negative. Target values, deviation, and that's what makes up that index. So I hope that makes sense to you, and let me know if you want to analyze a test in detail. There are variations. We can also talk about the saturated fat and the omega-6, but those are usually not that important. However, I do pay attention to stearic acid, which is negative in many cases when people don't eat enough red meat or they're pre-diabetic. So yes, and then we have a test that is basically a little better. Occasionally you're gonna see that, very infrequently. People who eat really healthy. My own test started out at 7-1. But is this a good test? Question mark, right? Some people will think, okay, I'm happy with that. No, you can't, because even at this value 8-1, which is significantly below the US average of 24-1, you will definitely be deficient. 5.2 is a good starting value, and this person supplemented probably with another product. They are all rancid, as you can see here. They are not effective. Let me go into the details of that. Basically, you can see again, your DGLA is positive, meaning it wants to downregulate the inflammation. Your linoleic acid omega-6 is positive. So that is not anti-inflammatory status, even though the arachidonic is in the green. The body is highly trying to downregulate inflammation. And why is that? Because the person is still 65% EPA deficient, which is the main counteracting to the inflammatory arachidonic. So looks like a good test initially, but then it isn't. The only good news is when you start out at 5.2% omega-3 index, of course, you're going to get a much quicker state of 8%. So depending on the age, so this person is a little older, you will definitely have to see after 6 to 9 months, you can retest. First test, there's no point in retesting after 6 to 9 months. You really have to wait at least 10 months. This one you could retest quickly. People get impatient, and then you can get another third free test after a year with your Xenocache. So all of that is possible, and the test is really quite straightforward when you read through the PDF. So yeah, I hope this all helps, and we are definitely meeting regularly now, and we can definitely discuss these in detail.